Welcome back, Guardians, to another Destiny video. And in today's Destiny video, which is kind of a Destiny video, kind of not, you'll understand. You'll see some SRL gameplay in the background, and I'm going to be talking about the worst day of 2017 so far. And that's kind of like a little joke because it's only 8 days into 2017, so it's more of a one of the worst days of my life. So before we get into that anyway, I want to give away my daily emblem, which I haven't given away in a while. If you wish to be entered, make sure you subscribe to this channel, hit the little bell and be part of the notification squad. Hit the like button on this video and leave me a comment telling me what your worst day of 2017 has been and why. So I just want to say I am going to be back to making regular videos. My consistency has been a lot lower over the past couple of weeks. Excuse me. My consistency has been a lot less over the past couple of weeks due to being out in America. I've been in America for 6 to 7 weeks with my fiance and my future stepkids for the holiday period. That's why I haven't been able to upload as much, because it's just been crazy, you know, going about, seeing family, celebrating holidays, etc, etc. So now that I'm back home, as you can see, I will be trying to do as much videos as possible, including Destiny, Titanfall 2, Battlefield 1, Watch Dogs, and any other games that I choose to play. But mainly there will be Destiny content on the channel, probably once a day, followed up with a second video with another game. So I hope you guys enjoy that. So the day before I was supposed to leave, well, a couple of days before I was supposed to leave, we had a real personal issue to deal with, me and Desiree, and we're fine. It's nothing really to do with us, but it's something to do with someone that we know. So, but anyway, it was a stressful time. It was an intense couple of days, and then I had to leave. So I was a little bit pissed and a little bit upset. So leaving was already going to be a bad thing because I had to leave her and the kids, and then on top of this I had to leave her to basically deal with this personal issue on her own and only be able to support across text messages and Skype, which just is not enough to support someone. So it was a hard time to leave, and I was pretty much heartbroken, especially seeing the kids' reactions to me leaving. They love me and they want me around all the time, which is just all you want as a possible stepfather role. But yeah, so well, actually, let's go to the day before. So the day before, I tried to check into my flight and it was errored. I couldn't do nothing, wouldn't let me check in. I was like, oh great, I'll try in the morning. Morning rolls around, I'm packing my case, and I get an email telling me my flight's been delayed by an hour. So this is both a really bad thing but an okay thing as well at the same time. So the really bad thing is that my flight's been pushed back an hour, so I'm concerned about my layover on the next flight and not being able to make it. And then on top of that, I'm the sort of person, I want to know where I'm going, what I'm doing and what times and stuff, and I've had to re-prepare myself to be late and on a later flight. So with all that being said, you know, the okay part of that is that I got to spend an extra hour with Desiree, and we got to handle some of the personal issue with another person. We got to speak to them. So all in all, it was kind of like a blessing in disguise type of thing. But anyway, I get to the airport because I couldn't check in even after I got the email telling me it was being delayed. Get to the airport, check in, put my bag through to the woman, and she says, you'll be fine, you'll make a connecting flight easy. So I'm a little bit relaxed now. I'm like, oh, thank God. So I sit in the airport for a couple of hours, get on my flight and fly to Atlanta. First flight seems decent, not the best flight in the world I've ever had, not the worst flight. So I was like, okay, this could be an okay day. Boy, was I wrong. So my next flight is from Amsterdam to Atlanta to Amsterdam, which is my longest flight of the 3 flights that I usually take, and it's a 9-hour straight flight. It's overnight and it's a chance to sleep, so that's okay, that's cool. But if you can't sleep like I couldn't, it's terrible. So I get on my flight and I get to my seat, and I always sit at the very back of the plane because I want to be as close to the bathrooms as possible, and also as close to the cabin crew's station at the back of the plane as possible, in case I need anything, so I don't have to keep walking around and such things. So I was happy with where I was sitting, and I was at the very back row on the back right hand corner. So I'm sitting closest to the aisle, and there's 2 seats next to me, a middle one and one to the window. And I'm sitting there thinking, please don't come, nobody come, please just let me have these 3 seats to myself. That's all I wish. Of course, that doesn't happen. 2 people come, a lady sits by the window, and a larger, older gentleman sits in the middle next to me, and he is very large, and he needs to obviously spread his legs because he's got bigger legs, and you know, he needs to have a lot of room. So I'm like, oh, great. So I'm sort of just like leaning to one side and letting him have all the room possible, because you know, he's an older gentleman and he obviously needs the space, and if he needs to sleep, he needs to be able to be comfortable. So I'm just like, oh, great, I'll find a way to sleep, and I can usually just sleep like this. So I was okay with just leaning onto one hand until we got on the flight, and 20 minutes into the flight and turbulence hits. A consistent rumbling of turbulence. It wasn't the worst turbulence I've ever had, and it wasn't the weakest turbulence I've ever had. So I was like, oh god, I hope this ends in about an hour, because I just want to get some rest. So I put on The Magnificent Seven, which is a great film, by the way, and I'm watching that, and the turbulence still consistently goes throughout that entire film. Film ends, more turbulence. I tried to sleep, can't do it, and then I put on the Newborn film, so I'm watching that. About halfway through that, the turbulence gets 100 times worse. The worst turbulence I have ever felt in my entire life. For about 2 hours probably, I genuinely thought the plane was going to crash, and I was fearful of that because the turbulence was awful. So throughout that 2 hours, I am petrified. Thoughts are going through my head. I'm stressed out. I'm feeling tired, exhausted, probably hallucinating at this point, and I just want to get some sleep. So the bigger, larger gentleman next to me won't let that be the case, and the turbulence is just making everything so intense and so stressful, I just cannot sleep whatsoever. So I end up finishing off the Newborn film, and then I started to watch Star Trek Beyond. And then the turbulence dies down a little bit, but it doesn't die down completely. It's still rumbling, and it literally was turbulence from 20 minutes after the flight until 10 minutes before we landed. It was awful. Probably the worst flight experience I've ever had in terms of like turbulence and stuff like that. For 9 hours straight, it was just pure turbulence. A lot of the times it would calm down for 10 minutes and disappear and then come back, and it was just like all over the place. So I think the longest period of time there wasn't any turbulence, it was like 15 minutes, and at that time I was like, yes, I can get some sleep. And then, and like, when I say turbulence, it's not like it was like always crazy, but it was still just there consistently, like a buzz in your ear, and it was just frustrating. So I didn't get any sleep on that 9-hour flight, and I landed in Amsterdam. So I have a 4-hour layover. No, sorry. Yes, 4-hour layover before I get my last flight from Amsterdam to Birmingham. So I'm sitting in the airport, and I really want to sleep, but I'm a very paranoid person when it comes to stuff like this. So I don't want to sleep because I have my laptop and I have my suitcase with all of my recording equipment in next to me. So I don't want to go to sleep in case for any reason someone steals it, which sounds absolutely ludicrous, but it probably would have happened to me on this day because everything was just going wrong. So I forced myself to stay away for 4 hours until my last flight, and my last flight was going to be like an hour and a couple of minutes. So I thought on that flight I'll just sleep and get as much sleep as I can, go home and sleep. So 4 hours later, I'm getting on my flight to Birmingham, and I walk up, give them my boarding pass and my passport, and they scan it, and it scans and beeps red. So I'm like, great. Then they tell me that I'm not on the plane, apparently, or at least that's what they're insinuating, that I'm not a registered passenger. They asked me what my 2 previous connecting flights were, and was it with Delta Airlines, which is who I flew with, and KLM, Royal Dutch Airlines too. So they had to do some searching on their system and find me. They asked for my baggage slip, when you check in a bag and you get like a little slip. They asked for that, and they went searching for everything, and it took a good 10 to 15 minutes. The plane was held up. I was the last person coming on the plane, so I had to hold everyone else up, and then when they eventually said everything's fine, you can get on the plane, I have to then get on the plane, and everyone's looking at me like, thanks for holding up the plane, because I've obviously delayed their flight, especially like the business class, who can be kind of snobby. So they were looking at me like, why are you holding up my plane? So I was just like, great. Anyway, go to my chair, sit down, and we take off. Now, I got about 20 minutes sleep on this flight. It was very hot on the plane for some reason. It was like extremely hot. There was nothing wrong with the plane, nothing mechanical wrong. It was just me feeling really hot because I hadn't slept all day. This is like a 18-hour period where I did not sleep at all, with extremely stressful events happening around me. But anyway, I'm flying back to Birmingham, so we're about to land, and weather's not great. I'm seeing outside, it's raining, it's dark, the clouds are heavy, and I see the plane start to lower itself down to go for the runway, and he can't break the cloud cover, he can't get underneath it, so he's coming down like this as fast as he can, and then he gets pushed back up, and then he tried it again, went down as fast as he could and went back up. So the plane's basically going like this. So I'm feeling sick because the plane's going like this. It does that about 3 or 4 times and then pulls up and flies off, and I'm like, oh god, what's happening? So he comes on the comms and he's like, sorry, we had to abort the first attempt at landing because of high tailwinds. Now I don't know what tailwinds are, but I'm guessing every time they tried to push down, the wind pushed the plane back up because they were too strong, and they probably wasn't expecting there to be that much weather conditions to deal with. So he says, we're gonna take 10 minutes, I'm gonna take a second run at it. And I knew exactly what was coming next, because if it was that hard to push a plane down through the cloud coverage, this means he has to just absolutely force the plane through those tailwinds. So I'm sitting there and I'm sitting there and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh my god. So he starts to lower and he starts to lower, and I knew exactly what happened, and he just forces the plane straight through. So basically the second attempt was pretty much a controlled crash. So he forces himself through, and obviously then when he forces himself through, he's going at a high speed. So the landing was more like a controlled crash, like I said. So the wheels hit the floor on the runway, bounce. So the plane actually literally bounced up, and when it hit, it was just like boom, like. So I genuinely thought something exploded or something. But luckily the pilot was really good. He controlled it. It bounced off the floor. It came up into the air and then bounced again, and then just sort of rolled on. But as it was rolling on, it was still going at a high speed. So he had to try and force the plane to stop, which meant the wings were going like this, like left and right, left and right, left and right, left and right. And I was looking out the window and I thought that wing is going to hit the floor in a minute. And it was just a terrible, stressful experience. And it was a great pilot. I mean, he really, really did control that plane extremely well. But during the actual moments of it happening, I was scared for my life. So it was really a terrible experience flying. So once the plane landed and we disembarked, I was like, thank God I can just go home and lie down and forget all this. So I'm traveling through Birmingham Airport to the baggage claim. I get to baggage claim. I'm standing there at the carousel. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, no bag. So I go to report my bag as being lost, and that takes another 15 minutes to 20 minutes. And I'm just sitting there like, what's happening today? Why am I so cursed? Like, I don't get it. What's happening? But anyway, you know, I report my stuff lost and I go through the plane. I call a cab or a taxi, which is like 15 to 20 minutes away from me. And they're like, yeah, it's going to be 45 minutes to an hour. So I'm sitting there like, oh my God. So essentially, I had 2 terrible plane journeys. I lost my baggage, almost crashed, and felt like I was going to crash during the 9-hour flight. And it was just a terribly stressful experience. And I just wanted to just let you guys know about it, what's happened over the past couple of days. And that's why I haven't been uploading since I have been back, because I'm still trying to adjust back to being in the UK and obviously catch up on sleep and just get that whole day that I just talked about out of my brain and out of my soul. And I'm sort of getting there now. So I'm going to be back with videos either tomorrow or the day after. I might spend tomorrow making a whole bunch of videos and then start uploading them on Tuesday, but I'll let you know. So yeah, thank you guys for listening. If you got this far in the video, leave me a comment with oogity boogity at the end of it. Just oogity boogity. You don't have to spell it correctly, just any variation of oogity boogity. But anyway guys, thank you for watching. I've been Easy Now, and you guys have been awesome.